Hi, I'm Scott from HC Visuals, and today's big question: is wedding content creation a scam? Are you actually going to pay money for someone to come and take photos on their phone at your wedding? And before all the content creators out there start sharpening their pitchforks and lighting their torches to come after me, I'm also going to be asking, actually, is this the next big thing, and is it something that's going to revolutionise the wedding industry? Unless you've been living under a rock for the last few years, you will know by now that content creation at weddings has become a pretty big thing. A lot of couples are now booking it as a extra supply during their wedding day. And in a nutshell, it is somebody who comes along and takes photos and videos on their phone, captures some behind the scenes moments, and delivers those clips to the couple, usually within 24 to 48 hours. And most of them are like knocking up reels that can be shared on Instagram and TikTok as well. So is it actually of value? Is it worth booking a content creator, or are they just stepping on the toes of the photographer and the videographer? Now, I appreciate that not everyone is going to book a photographer and a videographer. I mean, it's much more likely that a photographer is prioritized and a videographer is something that is booked if there's room in the budget. Unfortunately, as a videographer, that I can accept that is just the reality of the world we live in at the moment. But things are shifting, and I think people are prioritizing their preservation of memories a lot more now than some of the additional little add-ons that, you know, have been a big thing at weddings in the past, such as favors and just like additional things of that nature. Phones are pretty impressive now in what they can capture, and that has led into the growth of this industry. And I think just the nature of the society that we live in, content is just consumed by all of us at an unbelievable rate every day. So the fact that that is now part and parcel of the wedding industry comes as no surprise to me. And I think we all need to recognise that it's probably here to stay and try and adapt the way we work and the way we approach our business as photographers and videographers. Now, I'm not going to lie, the title, "Is It a Scam?" is something that initially I did actually think. When I first became aware of content creators, I couldn't wrap my head around the fact that somebody would actually want to spend their hard-earned money on having somebody come along to their wedding day and just snap away on a phone when, you know, they've got untold number of guests that are going to be doing that anyway. I just couldn't wrap my head around what the value is in that. You know, there's an element of it being very disposable and something that isn't going to be an heirloom item that is necessarily preserved for years to come in the same way that photography and videography is. But then I took a step back and I thought about it more. And I thought, actually, is it arrogant of me to assume that content creation won't be preserved in the same way? Now, on the face value of it, it is something that is just there to deliver instant gratification to couples the very next day, or, you know, within 48 hours. And I get why people want to book it. It is something that allows them to relive those amazing moments without having to, you know, wait on the edit of the photos and the films, which in some cases, particularly during peak season, can take quite a while. So I guess there are a number of pros and cons to the content creation. So for one, I'd say, and this could be a pro and a con, the barrier to entry is much lower. So everyone has a phone in their pocket nowadays. So in principle, anyone can become a content creator. You put some marketing materials together, you put yourself out there, get some bookings. That's it, you're a professional wedding content creator. It is as simple as that. With photography and videography, obviously the barrier of entry is much higher. The equipment is a lot more expensive. You have to invest a lot of your own personal money to get off the ground. And of course, there is a lot of time required in terms of education to learn how to use that equipment, to be able to edit photos, edit films, and actually craft something that is good. And like I say, it's the kind of instant gratification of the society we live in now that has driven this sort of surge towards content creators at weddings. You only have to look at the success of Amazon, Deliveroo, or even the likes of Spotify. You've got any song available at your fingertips. You don't need to go down the record store anymore. I'm really showing my age now talking about record stores. You know, once upon a time, we had to go and buy CDs, and before that it was cassettes. I'm old enough to remember cassettes, and a time before even having an internet connection where you could download off LimeWire. So all my millennials out there, they'll know what I'm talking about. So I think about what's driving couples to book content creators. Is it like a fear of missing out? is it that relationship that they've had with content? You know, is it a generational thing? Are Gen Z and below, what is below? What, I don't actually know what below Gen Z is. These are young people that have never known anything different. Their whole lives they've been bombarded with content, and it's something that's kind of, I guess, more deep rooted in their psyche. You know, as I mentioned, you are going to have guests at your wedding day, and they will undoubtedly be capturing photos, videos throughout the day as they go. So this is where I initially had trouble kind of grasping why you would want to pay someone to do that when your guests are doing it anyway. But then there is the argument that, well, that you don't necessarily want your guests dedicating too much time and energy into that. They're there to enjoy the day, not be on their phones taking photos. So having a person there whose sole responsibility is to capture those moments so the next day you can relive them is something I have started to appreciate a lot more. And it's that appreciation that has led me into building an add-on as part of my videography packages. So essentially, my biggest issue with content creation is the phone angle. Absolutely no problem with people booking a content creator and having them come and capture content on their phone if that's what they want to do. I say to everyone, it's your wedding day, do what makes you happy. Everyone else's opinion is absolutely irrelevant. I saw an opportunity here to take the premise of content creation and kind of flip it on its head slightly. So I've removed the phone aspect, and I have this camera, which I am shooting on now, is a new addition, and it is going to become my dedicated content creation camera. So I have a LUT built into the camera, which is my signature look. And as I record or take photos, the look is hard baked into the image. So I can capture additional content alongside my videography throughout the day, snap a few photos, grab a few clips, obviously doing it all vertically. And from there, I can then upload it straight from the camera to the Lumix lab, make any tweaks if necessary, but like I say, that's not really the idea behind it. It is still raw in nature. Obviously, it looks a lot more professional than something shot on a phone, as it is from a professional camera with a prime lens. As I say, I can straight into the Lumix lab, export it down onto my phone, straight up to Dropbox, and then deliver it to the couple the next day. So really, I'm branding it as a premium content package. And so far, it's been very well received by my couples. A lot of them for 2025 have already booked it as an add-on to their existing package, and I have a few more that are inquiring, and I'm discussing the options with them as well. So if you are a wedding professional and you're still on the fence about content creation, or you know it's something that you're actually dead against, then I would kind of suggest maybe taking a step back and thinking about it. You know, sometimes it's hard to see the wood for the trees, and the very nature of the world means sometimes you just got to keep up with the times, and content creation is here to stay. So I think as wedding industry professionals, photographers, videographers, we need to adapt and change as these new trends emerge. So maybe have a think about your own content creation packages. Really, I think about the practicalities of shooting additional content on the day, and whilst it for sure is not going to be without its challenges, it's not that difficult really to just snap a few extra photos, grab a few extra clips. There's plenty of options with the modern cameras now where you can do a similar thing to what I've done, have your look built in, and just make it clear to the couples that whilst it is a lot more professional and polished than something that would be captured on a phone, it is still quite raw in nature, as it's not going through the edit process. It's there to just kind of allow them to have that next day hit of adrenaline, like seeing those clips, seeing those videos, and just being able to relive those amazing moments. And then, you know, the full photography, the full videography packages, they're delivered further down the line. They just take it up a notch higher, and you know they're there to tell the story and to be the heirloom items in the way that the content just isn't. If you are a couple watching this, my advice to you is, again, do what makes you happy. Preserve your memories in the way that you feel best. However, I am biased, and I would say that anyone who is prioritizing content over photography and videography, you may be setting yourself up to fail. Now, I don't know for sure that content shot on a phone isn't future-proofed. Like, phones nowadays are capable of remarkable things. They can capture some great photos, great videos, but they do pale in comparison to the professional cameras. And from my opinion, I just think that the professional products are going to be future-proofed in a way that phone content just won't be. That is subjective and not an objective fact. It may even be a case of, phone content is just a trend that maybe eventually dies out and then sees a resurgence in the future in a similar way to like Super 8 and VHSs, like could end up having that kind of nostalgia value, which is kind of like a fun thing to think about. I'm getting a lot of people asked now about Super 8 and having VHS elements added into their edits for their final highlights films, which I have actually done a few times. I can put some links in the description showing that. And I think for people of a certain generation, my generation, millennials, we remember the time when VHS was all we had, and there's a certain nostalgia to that, like seeing snippets of your day kind of portrayed in that way. And I can imagine a time somewhere down the line in the future where, videographers may be having like a 16:9 wedding film, and then there's a sort of a vertical snippet that makes its way in there, which is made to look like it was shot on a phone. But who's to say that the format that we are shooting on now is actually future-proofed, For all I know, 10, 20 years time, it could be all virtual reality. It could be some sort of technology that I can't even begin to fathom yet, because it's just beyond the realms of, our own thinking at this time. Could be robots filming it, AI-driven robots. So in conclusion, the industry is changing. Content creation is here to stay. I, at one time, did think it was a scam. I thought paying money for somebody to come and rock up with their phone was absolutely ridiculous. I can now hold my hands up and appreciate that there is a certain value to it. It's not intrinsically the same as photography or videography, but it for sure has a value. And I think we all need to adapt and adjust to changes in the industry, not just with content creation, but anything that comes along, and just make sure we're at the forefront and keeping up with the times. So like I say, that is why I have put together my content creation packages. If you want any more information on those, if you're a photographer, videographer, and you'd like some sort of insight into how to set all of that up, just drop me a message. I'll be more than happy to help. In the meantime, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, hit the bell notification, and I'll see you on the next one.